Hey there, welcome back to the Fantasy Football Game Plan. He's Quentin, I'm Judy, and it's week 11. We're going to give you our favorite player props for this week. This week, we're targeting injury situations and a little bit of uncertainty in teams. Drop your best bets in the comment and help us out, and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any of our episodes. Let's do a quick review of last week. How did we do last week?
Yeah, not spend too long there because it was actually our worst week of the season. We ended up going, I think, 3-7 on the bets we gave out. Luckily, we did hit some of our touchdowns, which kind of saved us. Achan and the Achan Gibbs parlay got through. But besides that, we did not have a good read on the rest of our player props. And so looking to bounce back this week.
All right, let's bounce back. What are we going to start with on this grand bounce back?
So we're going to start with very exciting player. He just got traded at the trade deadline, but Rashid Shaheed over 30.5 receiving yards at -110. And this is more just a bet of Rashid Shaheed with Clint Kubiak, and Kubiak went out and got him again from the Saints. But with 5 healthy games on those 2024 Saints, Shaheed was going nuclear. He went for 70 yards in 4 of those games of the 5 he played healthy. And just 2 weeks ago, because the Saints played the Rams 2 weeks ago, he had 5 catches for 68 yards. I think we're just getting this 30.5 line because he's new on the team. He's not really established, and we have JSN on the other side. But also on top of that, Rashid Shaheed isn't just the type of player to get 30 yards. Typically, when he has a good game, he has a great game. And he's a big time threat. I want to take another half unit on 50 yards at +210. Whenever Shaheed goes for 30, about 70% of the time he goes for 50. And then I want to do a quarter unit on 70 plus units at +470, which he does about half the time whenever he goes over this 30.5 yard mark. I want those big plays. I want that. They only threw the ball 12 times. We're set up for a shootout in LA, so I'm excited for just a piece of that game.
Yeah, I'm excited for the Seahawks and Rams battle to see if we do get the shootout that we're all hoping for. If, Stafford can throw his 5 touchdowns, and then the Seahawks are looking for Shaheed to do well over 30.5 yards. I didn't go digging and try to make my Cooper Kupp revenge game prop, so I stayed away from that. I really wanted to. If you want to know what that's all about, then go listen to the DFS episode, because I kind of like the whole Cooper Kupp revenge game
He feels more
scenario.
like a touchdown line angle for
He might
me.
be.
It's
Yeah.
like they want to draw up the play for him, but I don't know how much he has left up in the tank.
Yeah, that's true. Fair enough. All right, what else do you have for us?
So next we are going Lamar Jackson, and we're going to take his under for 32.5 rushing yards, -120 against the Cleveland Browns. To me, Jackson has just not looked the same since coming back from that hamstring injury. He did rush a little bit more last week, but it's also against this Cleveland defense. He's banged up. He just missed practice on Wednesday due to knee soreness. And last time he played Cleveland, he had 13 yards. Only one quarterback has gone above this line against a Cleveland defense, and so I'm willing to take the chances here with the under for Lamar.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to be rushing until he feels 100%. Then hopefully that's going to be in the playoffs. Right now, I'm sad that he's not rushing and he's not, 100% Lamar. But he's in there winning games, and that's all they need to do right now is get a W and move on to the next week and be there and have him healthy when the playoffs hit. I don't see him running in this game either. I
The
don't.
other thing is, how much is Cleveland actually going to push them? I don't think they're going to need to pull out all the stops to beat the Browns.
No, I don't think so either. You've got running backs there, hand it off and let them do their job. So I have one. So far we've got the new guy and we've got Lamar, who's been injured and hurting. And I think there's opportunity in the Cardinals San Francisco game with Marvin Harrison Jr. being ruled out with his emergency appendectomy, and then that team is already really beat up. There was talk about Trey Benson coming back, but he hasn't been activated off of IR, so that's probably not going to happen at this point this week. He'll be out another week, which leaves them completely beat up at running backs, and then they are down to Michael Wilson, and that's where I'm coming in. Is Michael Wilson over 4.5 receptions, which is a +125. I started with the Trey McBride line, which is over 7.5. That's getting up there a little bit. So is Michael Wilson, but it was only a plus 108. So I went after a little bit bigger payout in this. Last week, Wilson had 7 targets and 4 catches, and that was with Marvin Harrison Jr. in the game. Marvin Harrison Jr. had 12 targets in that game, and Trey McBride had 13 targets. So where are those 12 targets going to go? I also looked at Dort, who is their next wide receiver in this game. But I think the 3 of them are all going to be seeing an increased workload.
Yeah, and we know Brissett is very consolidated on where he goes the ball, like we saw last week, 12, 12, and 13. So one less player there. I like Mike Wilson. I think it's a way to get a little bit different. He doesn't have the big name like Trey McBride, so it's a way to
Yeah.
kind of sneak it. You could even take his alt line even up to like 5.5 and see what the value is here. Uh,
You could do that. I don't mind parlaying it with Trey McBride. If you really think this game's going to go a little sideways and they're going to be throwing that ball a lot, which is kind of what I think, I'm a little surprised this game's only a 3-point game for the 49ers. 49ers are favored by 3, but since it's in Arizona, that's kind of a 6-point swing. I think the 49ers could be, pretty up, and the Cardinals are just trying to claw their way back.
yeah, and
I
even Bam
expect
Knight is a little banged up on their running game, so I don't think they're gonna
yeah,
have a choice.
I think so too. I like targeting this high injury situation. Yeah, let's move on to touchdowns. Who's getting a touchdown?
I want to go back to that Rams game. I feel like that is the place to go for your touchdown bets. I'm going to go on the Rams side and take Kyren Williams plus 115. And really, I just love this game environment. I think I want the home running back here in this game. And then the other thing that's kind of working in our favor here is Devontae Adams' oblique injury, because all of those goal line targets that are going to Devontae Adams, those quick little outs that Matthew Stafford has a lot of trust in Adams to go and get it, those will probably become goal line rushes. And Kyron's been the lead back whenever it's still a competitive game.
Yeah, he has been. And I can see if Adams is out, particularly, then Puka is going to be highly guarded. And
Yeah.
the targets Matthew Stafford will find someone else to get the ball to. So I like Kyren Williams. I can't believe it's a plus money here. So
I
we're
was
starting
surprised
out
too.
with plus.
Yeah. And we don't have any risk of Matthew Stafford really doing a tush push. They've never done that, so I don't think they're pulling it out here.
No, I don't think he wants to start that now in his career. Who else is getting the touchdown? What's the next one in our risk ladder here for
Yeah.
touchdown?
So the next one is a plus 195, and that is going to be Khalil Shakir. But with no Kincaid, Shakir should be the engine for this passing attack against Tampa Bay, and they should have to keep up and score some points. Dawson Knox at plus 320 is also very interesting to step into that role. We know that Allen likes to target the tight ends near the goal line, but I'm just taking Shakir with his yards after the catch. I don't really mind the snow and wind that might be involved in the game because Shakir isn't really getting those deep targets, and Allen has the arm to get it to him if he's close enough. I
Yeah,
think it actually kind of helps him break a few tackles and maybe get that touchdown that way.
I think so too. I think they're going to have to get Shakir more involved in their games if they want to win more of their games. We've seen their past games struggle a lot this season. And I think getting into Shakir is where it all starts to change. So I like this touchdown. Let's go to a different game. What tight end is going to get a touchdown?
Yeah, I wish I could kind of just Frankenstein this. This if I could choose like a minus 115, I guess you can kind of do it if you bet all 3, but I'm going to choose Friermuth to represent the Pittsburgh tight ends at plus 215, but against Cincinnati in his career, Friermuth has been very productive. He scored 6 touchdowns in 9 games. Jonnu and Darnell Washington are also interesting at plus 220 and plus 230, but all of them between plus 215 and plus 230 tells me there's so much uncertainty in this market of who it's actually going to be, with all
Yeah.
3 of them getting minutes. I just want to take Friermuth at home. He typically performs a lot better at home and then just kind of shreds zone coverage.
It's kind of interesting that they are so closely valued for their touchdown here, 215 to 230. That's a little bit surprising to me because I feel like Friermuth has really been the tight end that's been favored by Aaron Rodgers, so that's a little surprising.
Yeah, absolutely. I think they have the best connection. So where are we going for Our
The
long
long
shot.
shot. Yeah, the long shot. So I got a long shot, and that's Brian Robinson Jr. at plus 500. I'm back on this Cardinals game again. I'm just envisioning a game where it gets out of hand and the 49ers are way up on the Cardinals. The Cardinals are passing. We already talked about that side of it. But now the 49ers have the opportunity, maybe, maybe like the whole fourth quarter, where they can give McCaffrey a break and they're giving it to Brian Robinson Jr. And we know that he's a talented back. We all thought he was going to be a starting running back when the season started. And now he's, the backup to McCaffrey to help give him that rest. So I see this as a game script that sets up well to get him more carries and hopefully into the end zone. And I like it at a plus 500.
Yeah, it's a good trade off, especially if they have the opportunity to give Christian McCaffrey some much needed rest.
Yeah, you can get a parlay up there pretty good if you start correlating things like on this game with
Yeah, you could
things like
probably
this.
narrow it down to maybe like a Brian Robinson second half touchdown and see what
I,
odds you can get.
yeah, that would be even better.
Uh, but I like
What
that at plus
is
500.
what is our parlay?
So our parlay is kind of continuing the long shot theme. I would not advise putting a full unit on this. I'm probably doing a quarter unit, but it is the Jameis Winston experience, same game parlay. And we finally have Winston back in the lineup for the Giants. So this consists of 3 legs. First, we were taking Jameis Winston over 34 attempts. Then we were taking Jameis Winston over 0.5 interceptions, so him to throw a pick. And then we were taking the Green Bay defense touchdown at plus 450 as the main leg, driving all this plus 850.
Has
So
has Jameis ever had a game where he didn't have an interception?
it doesn't feel like that, and that's kind of just his MO at this point. It's kind of even gotten worse since he's been coming off the bench and not being
Yeah.
a starter. He's really, the past couple of years, if he looks at his stats, the interception is pretty reliable. That alone is like a minus 160, which I kind of like standard maybe to fuel this parlay.
Yeah,
Because the long
definitely.
shot here is the Green Bay defense. Do they actually run it back in? But Winston has thrown 14 pick sixes in his career. That's about 15 of his total starts in the league. And we just talked about it being higher when he was coming off the bench. The attempts is thrown in there because it is heavily correlated with him throwing that interception. And if you wanted the true long shot of like you put $1 on it, you could even take the alt line up to 40 attempts because about 58% of the games that he throws a pick six in, he has 40 attempts in. He's just chucking it. And they don't really have another plan in New York. So that is a
Yeah.
plus 2-4. That's 2,400 if you want that. I'm going to stay
Wow.
down at the 850 and just take what we have.
I
And
I
should be
feel like
fun.
we've been getting a lot of quarterbacks over 40 attempts this year, more so than I remember in years past where they are just chucking it and trying to come back. I don't think you put Jameis Winston in this game to hand off the ball. So I kind of like the plus 2,440 attempts and see what he can do. I'm just excited that I get to see him play instead of Russell Wilson.
Yeah, I think it'll be much more entertaining than Russell Wilson. And the only thing that was scaring me off of the plus 40 was that Green Bay tends to slow it down. So I was like, all right, we're just going to get to 34.
Yes, Green Bay does tend to do that. They make it a no fun game, and that's just crawling along. Let's see if Jameis Winston can change that up. All right, that's going to do it. That's it for our week 11 player props. Tell us your favorite play in the comments this week. Play smart, have fun, and see you next time.